My friend, welcome to the third episode of our lectures. Okay, so I told you that I left you with the rightly guided caliphs and the fact that in spite of the fact that the caliph Osman had been murdered, Ali took over the caliphate. So the cousin of Osman from the Umayyad clan, Muawiyah said, you're implicated in this situation because you've accepted to become a caliph on the wake of a murdered caliph. So you do not have legitimacy, right? And that I have more legitimacy because I am connected to the Umayyad, to the clan of Umayyad, to Osman, who is coming from our clan. So therefore, the first wars take place. The first fitna takes place between in the Muslim community. So this is the first time that you have a Muslim community against the Muslim community, so to speak, right? So according to tradition, as you see, the schism, the civil war, begins after 656. Ali is implicated. Muawiyah refuses to give the oath of allegiance to Ali. The oath of allegiance literally means bay'ah, literally means to shake hands, right? And Muawiyah refuses, and the two parties begin preparing for war with each other. And the war takes place, and the Battle of Siffin takes place in 657. I just want to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to the way the things are located here, right? You see, this is Sham, Syria, this is Misr, Egypt, Medina, Mecca, Basra, Kufa, Jazira, which is basically north of Mesopotamia, Fars, this is Persia, Persis, right? Armenia, and this is Azerbaijan, right? So the Battle of Siffin takes place in 657, and during the course of the battle, Ali agrees to arbitration. A group of his followers refuse to follow him with this arbitration. They say that, no, Muawiyah has no right. You should not have agreed to arbitration because you are the legitimate successor to Osman and to the Prophet after Osman. So they secede from the community, right? They secede, i.e., in Arabic they become they kharaja, right? These become known as the Khawarij or seceders, right? And Ali in 661 is ultimately killed by the Khawarij, right? So ultimately killed by the Khawarij, and Muawiyah, of course, takes over in 680, right? Muawiyah takes over in 661 and rules for close to 20 years as caliph until 680. From the inception of Muawiyah's caliphate, right, we are entering the Umayyad caliphate, right? The Umayyad caliphate. So thus far, you had the chronology goes as such. So, right? Prophet Muhammad dies 632. Rashidun, Caliphs, I'm making sure I'm giving these Arabic terms to you, my friends, because if you're not amongst those lucky ones who are bilingual, you must get you first of all you must become bilingual. Please, please, it's one of the best things that will you will do for yourself once you become, you once you get to know different languages. But short of becoming bilingual, you have to become comfortable with foreign words, and in this case, you're talking about Arabic and Arabic words. So after Prophet Muhammad, who dies in 632, from 632 to 661, you have Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman, and Ali as the rightly guided caliphs. And after that, at 661, starts the Umayyad Caliphate that goes into 750. Now, we will talk about the Umayyad Caliphate in a second. Now, okay, but I told you that so this is the first civil war in Islamic community. It's a major civil war. The community is divided between what later on becomes the Sunni and the Shi'i communities, Sunni and Shi'i communities. Shi'is are those who believe that after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, Ali and his children, progeny, become should have ruled. In other words, Shi'is have gotten the short end of stick in the early Islamic history. The narrative has it, according to the narrative, and especially according to the Shiites, right? Whereas the Sunnis, who are following the majority of the Muslims, so to speak, are Sunnis. There's Sunnis, there's Shi'is, and then there is another sect created by the name of Khawarij, those who have seceded, and these become the sort of puritanical Muslims, right? The Muslims who believe that you have to follow Islamic precepts to the law, and so on and so forth, and we will get to that also later on, right? And Ali is killed by that, and during the first civil war, my friends, right? And Muawiyah rules until, as we mentioned, until 680. Now, another thing happens during the period of rightly guided caliphs, and that is the conquest of the so-called Islamic conquest, and we're going to deal with that in a second. But before that, we will have to talk about the second civil war, because once Muawiyah dies in 680, he decides that he wants to put his son Yazid, Muawiyah's son Yazid, in power. Now, this was unheard of, right? This was sort of father to son to grandson, and so on and so forth. And this was a complete aberration of what the Muslim community that had developed, right, thought up until then, because this was not a monarchy, right? Although Muawiyah, who moved his capital to Damascus here, right, moved his capital to Damascus, and he was ruling from Damascus, not Mecca nor Medina, where the rightly guided caliphs were ruling from, right, but from Damascus. And once he dies in Damascus in 680, right, he decides that Yazid, my son, his son has to take over the caliphate, right? And the majority of the Muslims do not accept that, and the second civil war takes place between the forces of Yazid, right, and the forces of the son of Ali. I'm sorry, son of Ali, Hussein, right? Because Hassan decides that he wants to become a quietist, right? So it's between the other son of Ali, Hussein, and Yazid, the son of Muawiyah, right? So and then starts the second civil war. In fact, the community is actually divided, right, by the forces of Umayyads, by the forces of the the Alids, who Ali himself has moved, while Abu Bakr, Omar, and Osman were ruling from Medina. Ali moves the capital to Kufa here, yeah, very close to the Sasanian capital, which was called Ctesiphon, if you remember, Ctesiphon, right? But because Ctesiphon was made of different cities, a number of different cities, the Arabs start calling it Al-Mada'in. For those of you who want to know, Mada'in just simply means cities, right? The cities, Ctesiphon. But I don't expect you to know Mada'in. Just those who want to know, they make sure that they know, right? Okay, my friends. So the community is therefore divided. I don't know why this does not go away. Okay. The community is therefore divided. These are the divisions under various sort of leaders of the community: Hussein ibn Ali, Abdullah ibn Zubair, and Mukhtar. I don't know. I don't want you to learn all of that. I mean, it would be nice if you do, but you don't have to. And the second civil war takes place, and finally the forces of the Umayyads are victorious, and the second civil war ends, and the Umayyad caliphs continue to rule from Damascus, right? From Damascus. Okay, my friends. So okay, I told you. So these are the two. Excuse me. Important civil wars that takes place amongst the community. The first fitna between Ali and Muawiyah, and the second fitna between the forces of Ali's son Hussein and the forces of Muawiyah's son Yazid, right? So these are the developments within the community itself. But in a second very important sort of um, uh, process takes place during this period, from the time of the prophet, according to tradition, right, from the time of the prophet to the end of the Umayyad period, and that is the great Arab conquest. From the time of the prophet, so now you remember the Byzantines and the Sasanians were fighting, and the Arabs were in between, right, and were actually between the Lakhmids and the Ghassanids. They were in between and collaborating with these Sasanians and the Byzantines. But the wars of the Sasanians with Byzantines, if you remember, had taken place from 602 to 628, right? So a long while, these people were into war. The Byzantines and the Sasanians were basically their forces were devastated. Basically, there were earthquakes that were happening at this time in the greater part of Western Asia. This is our Western Asia, right? Yeah, the plagues, earthquakes, droughts, everything that could be possibly happening is happening at this point, right? And the Arabs have, according to the tradition, come together. Now they are united under one religion, according to the tradition. All of Arabia is united under Islam, so to speak, right? And it is, during the lifetime of Muhammad, all of Arabia sort of gives their oath of allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca, right, and ostensibly to Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. But the tradition has it that some of these tribes that had given their oath of allegiance in the Arabian Peninsula to the Prophet Muhammad, right, thought that, well, okay, the Prophet is dead, therefore we gave our oath of allegiance to them, right, and therefore we do not have any obligation, so to speak, towards the caliphs who are ruling for Medina, right? So what starts, right, after the death of the Prophet 632 is also wars of apostasy. In Arabic, meaning Ridda wars, right? The wars of apostasy or Ridda wars, right? Um, so, um, so the story goes, the narrative of Islamic tradition goes that in fact the caliphs begin sending forces to different parts of Arabia, especially this part, right? Who to put down these apostatized tribes, right? And since the world of late antiquity, the world of uh, the world of Western Asia in the 600s is basically falling apart, right, because of all these disasters, right? The forces that go to put down the wars of apostasy see that there is no one in power, basically in all of Syria. There's no one in power in all of Iran. There's no one in power in Egypt, right? I mean, very little power the Byzantines have, and then begins the great Arab conquest. They call it also the Arab conquest. This is a misnomer, I will tell you later on, right? This begins the story of the great Arab conquest. So what you have by the Arab in the Arab conquest, right, is the so in the process of the Arab conquest, and so the brown is through the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad, right? All of Arabia is ostensibly becomes Muslim, right? Then you have the the orange parts, right? Iran and Syria, and a good chunk of Byzantine Empire, Egypt, and Libya, and so forth, are conquered during the period of the rightly guided caliphs, and the yellow is when the Umayyad caliphs take over, and they expand the conquest and make expand the conquest and go into Central Asia, Afghanistan, up to India, right? Afghanistan, Pakistan, up to India, and in 711, right, they cross into Spain, creating close to 4 centuries, and if you're more generous, more than 4 centuries of Muslim Islamic Spain's history during the Umayyad period. So what happens is that during the Umayyad period at 711, right, from Morocco, right, from Morocco, a group of Arabs and Berbers, native North Africaners, who are called Berbers, right? They have their own language, and they, they of their own ethnicity and whatnot, right? They come at 711, sort of a Berber general called Tariq, which means basically black, right? Together with his forces, invades Spain, right, in 711, and this first sources of invasion go up to tours into the Frankish kingdom of France, right? And it is only in 732 that the Franks sort of push them back to Spain, right? And here is created, right, in Spain, is created sort of the sort of the chronology, if you will, of Muslim Spain. Okay, my friends. Chronology of Muslim Spain, which in in the 1000s takes over most of Spain. By 1100, it's a little bit contracted by the forces, by Spanish forces, who are really right. Major Christian, by now have become major Christian community, and then by 1200 again they are pushed further south, but by 1300, right, they are still there, and they are in they are but they're confined to Granada, but from 711 to 1300, right? From 700 to 1300, 300 century, 300 years there and 300 years here. For 6 centuries, basically, Muslim Spain is ruled one way or another. I mean, Spain is ruled in one way or the other by Muslims, right? That's when it comes to be called Andalusia, Andalusia, and we have a lot more to say about that. But for now, we should keep in mind that the Spain that we know as a major Christian power, right, has 600 years history of Islamic rule, right? So another wave of conquest takes place, but this is not during the Umayyad period, is during the Abbasid periods, which we will get to, right? During the Abbasid period, which we will get to, that in theory runs from 750 to 1258 when the Mongols come and sack Baghdad. Mongols. 1258 they sack Baghdad, right? But meanwhile, during the Abbasid Caliphate, right, the Muslims, right, quote unquote, they have taken over Sicily. As you know, Sicily is the little island that is being kicked by Italy, who the land of which looks like a boot, right? And this is Tunisia here, right? So and these two invasions, the Spanish invasion and the invasion of Sicily, are very, very important for our future purposes, and we will talk about it further. But meanwhile, the Arabs have conquered a great part of Western Asia and North Africa, and they have gone into Spain. By this time, they are not just Arabs, right? And the convert population, and we will get to conversion in the next sessions, right? The convert population also take place in these wars of conquests, and the caliphate comes to establish a dominion that is even greater than the Roman Empire, greater than the Achaemenid Empire, greater than the Parthian Empire, greater than the Sasanian Empire as far as Iran concerned, and greater than the Greek sort of Greeks. Yeah, they didn't have an empire, but sort of a naval power, right? And the Romans and the Byzantines and whatnot all put together, right? And the borders are destroyed between these regions, and a lot of good is going to happen afterwards, right? So for now, I bid you farewell again, my friends, and I'll make this a shorter video, and we will see another video in a little while. And take care of yourselves. I will talk to you. I'll have the next episode with you soon. Goodbye for now.